Hello, hello, hello. Good evening and welcome back to another live edition of the Chronicles of a Gooner. This time we're bringing you a transfer deadline day special. Now, transfer deadline day has kind of gone as expected for Arsenal. We managed to get the signing of Cedric Soares over the line from Southampton on a loan deal. So that was our only piece of business today. But of course, we've also signed Pablo Mari, a central defender from Flamengo in Brazil. Again, it's on a loan deal, but with, of course, the option to make that deal permanent come the end of the season. So we're going to touch on those two transfers. We're going to talk a little bit about the Cedric Soares deal in a little bit more detail, have a look at the announcement, look ahead briefly to the game against Burnley, which is coming up, of course, on Sunday, 2:00 kickoff, I believe. So we'll be looking at all those things on this transfer deadline day special. And I just want to apologize, first of all, if I look and if I sound tired, because this is my second deadline day covering football on a sort of full-time basis. But this was my first deadline day with a full-time writing position and trying to cover it from all the freelance perspectives and from the various other bits and pieces, from the various other companies that I do bits and pieces for. So it's been really tiring. I am absolutely knackered. I'm surprised that this is actually the last thing I'm doing today. I was looking forward to this one, so I thought I'd leave it till last to wrap up the day. So I'm glad the day's now come to an end. And I know there are a few hours still remaining of the deadline. Before the deadline passes. However, I am going to be putting my feet up for the rest of the evening and chilling out because I am absolutely shattered. Thank you to those of you that have been reading stuff, have been following us here on the channel, downloading stuff in the podcast formats. It is really, really appreciated. And thank you for your continued support. As I always say, none of it will be possible without you guys. So thank you very much. Right, let's look at the transfer that Arsenal managed to get over the line today, which is, of course, the signing of Cedric Soares from Southampton on loan. Now, the Portuguese international defender will join us until the end of the season. And for those of you watching us on YouTube now, I am sharing Arsenal's club announcement on the screen with you. For those listening on the audio, I'll be talking you through it, so don't worry. Big hello to Vegard and Omar, who are currently watching us live. Thank you guys, two very loyal listeners, always tuning in, and it is very much appreciated, I promise you. But let's get back to Cedric Soares. So, of course, the Portuguese defender has joined us on loan until the end of the season. He's moving to North London from Southampton, where he's made more than 100 appearances since joining the South Coast Club in 2015. He started his career at Sporting Lisbon, came through the youth ranks before making his debut in the Portuguese Premier League at the age of 19. He is an experienced international, 33 appearances for his country, featured at the 2018 World Cup and was a big part of the Portuguese squad that won the Euros in 2016. He's had spells at Académica in Portugal and, of course, more recently at Inter. Looking at Edu's comments on Cedric, he says, Cedric is a defender with good experience of the Premier League and, of course, at international level. He's another strong addition to our defensive unit who will provide our squad with quality. I know he's a player who plays with absolute full commitment and energy. We are all looking forward to going into the last stages of the season with Cedric as part of the club. So, it kind of feels like one of those signings, doesn't it, where it's not the type of signing that's going to get anybody off their feet. It's not the type of signing that if you asked me at the beginning of the window, do I want Cedric Soares, that I would have said yes. But what I will say is it is a signing that plugs a hole for Arsenal. And I was banging on about it in the summer that I wanted Arsenal to sign a right back because I didn't want to see Ainsley Maitland-Niles continuing to play there. We knew there were question marks over Hector Bellerin's fitness. Even before Callum Chambers got injured, was I ever persuaded or convinced that he was a right back? No, I wasn't. I always thought he was better in the central defensive position. So a backup right back is something that we have needed for quite a while. And Miguel Arteta clearly feels that, someone of Cedric's experience can give something to the squad. That's not to say that he's going to walk into the team and displace Hector Bellerin and he's going to play every week or anything like that. but he's bolstering our options and giving us another natural fallback to select from, and particularly on that right-hand side, that has been a problem. So am I overly, excited by the business? No. But I think it's a good piece of business. I think it's a smart piece of business. And I think it's Arsenal plugging some holes. And it's Mikel Arteta having had a few weeks in the job now, looking at his squad and identifying positions where he needs, backup, maybe numbers, bodies. Do I think he would have made this signing had Callum Chambers not got injured? Maybe not, because I think that whilst I don't think naturally he is a fullback, I think that Mikel Arteta would have probably looked at it and thought, I could probably get by to the summer here if I've got Bellerin, Maitland-Niles and Chambers. But of course, that injury has changed Mikel Arteta's outlook on the transfer window. And we've seen the Gunners get a couple of deals over the line as a result. Now, Pablo Mari's come in as well, which is another. Again, it's not the type of signing where you get really excited and you're over the moon about, but it's the type of signing that plugs a hole. And that's at the end of the day what Mikel Arteta is trying to do. And that's what Arsenal should be looking to do in this January transfer window, which I must add, it's notoriously difficult to do good business in. Now, are we gonna see a massive upturn because these players have come in? They may bring something to the team. They may add something to the team. They may add that little bit more that what we've seen in recent times. Pablo Mari, as far as centre halves go, Mustafi picked up an injury the other day. We don't know how long he's going to be out for. We don't know exactly. Luckily, it wasn't as bad as initially feared. But then we, of course, lost Callum Chambers. Socrates and David Luiz. To bring in another option wasn't a bad thing. And I think what Mikel Arteta has done is he's identified someone that fits his way of playing, which is, of course, somebody who from a defensive position is comfortable in playing the ball out. Pablo Mari, we know, is very competent on the ball in possession, left-footed as well, which Mikel Arteta has said is a massive issue for him. It's something that he really wanted. He wanted somebody who he knew, was left-footed because it complements the way we play. And when you play with very specific patterns, which I think the longer we see Mikel Arteta in charge for, the longer we'll see those specific patterns and the more we'll notice them. I guess to him it was important to get a left-footed centre-back, and I'm okay with that. I fully back that. If indeed we weren't able to go out and spend 30-40 million pounds on a defender, then this was the right way to do the business. And there's a comment in the chat at the moment. Where is it? It's from Brian Ruff. He says, I think we've done pretty well, really, with a budget we ain't got. Exactly. That's the point here. And people always talk about, what's going on? Why have my club got no money? Why are Arsenal in this situation? Blah, blah, blah. The fact is, and I said it on the last show, Arsenal haven't been in the Champions League for 3 seasons now. We're likely to head into our 4th season without Champions League football. That has got to have a massive impact on this club's transfer budget. There's no question about that. We've been running on Champions League wages without having the Champions League income. Things are not going well financially for the Gunners at the moment. And that's, I think, why they turned to Mikel Arteta. That's why they're doing the types of deals that they're doing now. And fingers crossed, we can pull ourselves back up to where we belong through an alternative route, which is, of course, by developing some of our younger players, trying to bring some people in who can enhance the team on a relatively small budget. And if we can get all those things and, combined, we can put all the pieces together, then I'm confident that Arsenal can improve and Arsenal can move forward under Mikel Arteta. Deadline day was pretty quiet, from an Arsenal perspective. There wasn't even any rumours. The Soares deal came out pretty early this morning, and from then on, I guess we all knew that was going to be it, and I'm okay with that. I think that Arsenal have clearly identified these 2 players as 2 players that they believe can add something, can enhance the team, and can plug holes. And that's the key phrase here: plug holes. You don't honestly believe, do you, that Mikel Arteta sat there and gone, these are the two players that are going to fire us onto, that are going to propel us, I should say, onto Champions League glory and challenging from the Premier League? No, but he's looked at what he's got available. He's looked at these two players and he said, are they better? Do they offer more of a solution than some of the internal solutions I've got? And I think he believes they do, and that's why he's brought them in. I find it a little bit strange how Cedric has kind of disappeared a little bit, or not disappeared because he's made some appearances, but how he's fallen out of favour at Southampton, because he was quite highly rated a few seasons back. Of course, he's a Portuguese international, played at the highest level with them. And so there are question marks around that. But, the talent doesn't just disappear. He's obviously fallen out of favour there. Perhaps him and Ralph Hasenhüttl don't see eye to eye. I don't know. I can't sit here and tell you what the reasons is, but he's somebody who's proven in the past that he can perform to a decent standard, and to a standard that's probably better in the eyes of Mikel Arteta than some of those internal solutions that he has at his disposal at the moment. So overall, I'm okay with what we've done in the window. I never expected big things in January. I never do. I understand why some managers say that they don't want the January window anymore. It is an unwelcome distraction in the middle of the season. I get all that. And, I didn't have high expectations. Therefore, I'm not disappointed with what Arsenal have done in this window. I think if it can help us, if it can enhance us even by 10, 15%, if it can add a little bit more strength and depth whilst we try to pursue Europa League glory, but at the same time try to creep back up the Premier League. And we're not with a great chance of finishing in the top four, but we have a chance. So if we can manage to fight on two fronts, because we've managed to make these signings, then I'm all for them. And of course, there's the FA Cup as well, which is a competition that Arsenal have traditionally done very well in and taken very seriously. So, we need a squad to compete on those fronts, and I'm encouraged by the way things are going under Mikel Arteta, and I trust him that this is not the greatest business in the world, and not the business that he would have done if he had an open checkbook, but I trust him that he genuinely believes that these guys can add something to the team and to the setup. Now, guys, if you've got any questions in the live chat, let me know. Let me have them now. Got a couple of minutes left of the stream, and I'll be coming to those right at the very end. Let's look ahead to Bournemouth. Of course, we take them on at the weekend, game at Turf Moor. It's going to be a typical sort of Burnley, I don't want to say, rough and tumble sort of football, but when it comes to Burnley, you know what you're going to get, don't you? You know that you're going to get hard work. You're going to get physicality. You know that they're going to be right up for it. And Sean Dyche seems to have always a little bit of an edge when it comes to taking on Arsenal. And, he's had his moans in the last few seasons about some refereeing calls, probably rightly so, to a degree, I guess. So, how do I see this one going? I think for me, of course, the result is important. We're in a results business. That always matters. But for me, I just want to see Arsenal continue the good work that they've done in the last few weeks. We've become evidently more difficult to beat, which I like. Defensively, we've become a lot more sound. Even though we are conceding still, we're conceding a lot less chances. And I kind of put the fact that we're still getting so many draws down to bad luck more than anything else, because I think we are doing the right things. I think we are taking the right steps, and we are moving in the right direction. So from that, I of course, take great encouragement. But it's going to be a difficult game. And if I'm not mistaken, Burnley are level on points with us in the Premier League this season. And, I know we haven't had the greatest season by any means, but to think that is kind of, I find it a little bit like, wow, it is a little bit, it takes you aback when you see that statistic. And if we look at the head-to-head between the two clubs in the Premier League, let me just bring that on the screen for those of you who are watching us via YouTube. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. It is very, very important. But in terms of the head-to-head between Arsenal and Burnley, let's have a quick look here. Where's the one I want? There we go. So if you look at the 11 games between the two sides over the Premier League era, and that's of course when Burnley have been in the Premier League, because they haven't been in there the whole time. That's why the figure's so low. Just 11 times we've played. Arsenal have won 10 of those, and there's been one draw. So Arsenal have won 10 out of 11. So if you were a betting man, you'd probably put your hopes on Arsenal. Of course, we beat them at the Emirates Stadium earlier on in the season. Dani Ceballos played really well that day. Be interesting to see if he gets the nod. We beat them at the end of last season 3-1. We beat them at the Emirates 3-1. The year before, there was some contentious decisions at the end, wasn't there? I remember there was was it a handball or something? I can't remember exactly, or a penalty or something like that. And they were very, very disappointed to have lost that game. But in terms of the two sides, I think Arsenal, on paper are of course the stronger side, but going to Burnley is never easy, and we've got to be realistic. And I'm just having a look now. That is absolutely right. We are on 30 points, as are Burnley, as are Crystal Palace, as are Everton, and as are Newcastle United, believe it or not. So I think it's going to be a difficult game, but I think if Arsenal continue to play the way they've been playing, if they can continue to be a little bit more stubborn defensively, if they can continue to build those patterns of play and the shifts in the shape that we've been seeing of late, then I'm pretty confident that Arsenal can go there and get all 3 points. Simpy asks, what's your starting lineup? It's a tough one, my friend, because it depends on how Miguel Arteta wants to go after the game. I think that Lucas Torreira will come back in the side for me, alongside Granit Xhaka in the middle of the park. I think that Saka will continue at left back. I think that Bellerin will continue at right back. I expect Socrates to play. We've also got the thing of up front because Aubameyang's back. And, who do you leave out? Do you leave Lacazette out? Do you go Pepe, Aubameyang, Martinelli? That's probably what I would do. I think I'd leave Lacazette out for this fixture. But again, it's up for debate. And there are lots and lots of questions around, how we should set up. I think that as long as that core's there, I think that the Xhaka Torreira thing in the middle is so, so important for Arsenal at the minute. And I think that as long as he goes with that, then I think we stand a really good chance of getting all 3 points. Great to see Bellerin back in the side as well, playing really well. And he's actually been noticeably more conservative, I would say, since he's come back into the side. And I don't know if that's a deliberate ploy from Arteta as he looks to build that play on the left-hand side through Saka and with, of course, Xhaka, moving over to that left-hand side. So yeah, I'm pretty confident in terms of my starting 11. Pretty much as I've said, those are the key decisions I'd make. Will Mesut Ozil will come back in the team? That's another debate, isn't it? So lots to debate. I'm not going to try and guess what Mikel Arteta is going to do, but we'll be back after the game with a review show. And we'll be looking at things in a little bit more detail. So thank you all once again for jumping onto the live stream. And of course, to those of you who are listening to it back later, it is really, really appreciated. To summarize the transfer window, Arsenal have signed Pablo Mari from Flamengo on a loan with a view to, an option to make that a permanent deal in the summer. We've also captured Cedric Soares from Southampton. He'll come in as a right back, and he'll be looking to boost Mikel Arteta's defensive options. That brings us to the end of the stream. And as I said to you, I am really tired, and that's why I'm keeping it short and sweet. It has been a long fucking day. Deadline day for a football writer is probably the worst day. I mean, it's a good day in the sense that there's lots of things to write about, but in terms of the workload, my word, it has taken its toll, and I'm looking forward to putting my feet up this evening and chilling out. So until next time, take care, guys, and we'll see you after the Burnley game. All the best.